Do you like books? I mean, really, really like books? Then you're in the right place. Each week, your host, Sam Hankin, interviews the best of today's top-selling authors and the up-and-coming superstars of modern literature. This is The Avid Reader. Here is your host, Sam Hankin.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of The Avid Reader. Our guest today, brought to you by my bookstore, Wellington Square Bookshop. Our guest today is Patrick O'Leary, author of 51, published by Tachyon and released today of all things, if I post this day. Otherwise, it was released yesterday, if you keep the same time that I do. Patrick's previous works include Door Number 3, which was nominated for everything. And it's hard to get on Amazon. And I got it off A-Books. I got a first edition, first printing. So I was really excited yesterday. He's also written The Gift, Other Voices, Other Doors, The Impossible Bird, The Cane, and The Black Heart. 51 skips back and forth in time and place. But it's grounded in the premise that we all have imaginary friends, sometimes loving and really cool, sometimes terrifying and powerful, and sometimes put upon, exploited, and hurt badly. So we are a cruel country, and these friends remind us of that. And our nation's presidents are presented seriatim in their own guises, if you will. 51 is a book I would have written if I knew how to write, because it's funny, prescient, and totally whacked. Other races, other worlds, people who are your best friends and worst enemies, humor and horror, the perfect combination and reflective of the lives we generally live. So with that, welcome, Patrick, and thanks for joining us today.
Thanks very much. I really appreciate it, Sam. It's delightful to be here.
Great.
Wow.
So first, thanks. I will ask no questions that Terry Gross would ask. Not one.
We should tell our viewers that 51 trucks with some really dangerous secrets, American secrets, government secrets, and that it's likely at any time this interview may be cut off. So we have to be very delicate. We've only been briefed. We've only been released certain parts of the information to the public. And so we have to be careful. So I just thought I'd warn everybody, if everything goes black, you know what happened.
It could also go black because you think I'm a complete assael, but that hasn't happened.
Too early to say, Sam. Too early to say.
Thanks for the cushion. Hey, so did you have an imaginary friend when you were little?
I must have. I know my children did. I grew up with two young boys, and they each had imaginary friends, and I used their names for the characters in this book.
Really?
51 is sort of like an alien encounter conspiracy novel, but the aliens are not anything like you think they are, and they are just, what the heck are they? You know, it's UFOs, the rumors about 51 and what's really going on there. Well, 51 purports to be, the novel 51 purports to tell the actual story, which is outrageous, correct?
Correct. Especially when you're talking about
bizarre story that
as I'm talking about marshmallows, you know, it's like, it's not what you expect. And then you go, are they aliens or are they? There's lots to see. That's the problem with this interview. There's lots of spoilers that I don't want to do.
Lots of spoilers.
Yeah, I know.
Difficult with any of my books. But you know, can I say, I think the characters you're referring to, they're called IFs or ifs. They are peculiar characters in that they adapt their appearance to everyone they see. So it's literally impossible to see these things. They will adapt to whatever would be the most forgettable thing. So if you're walking on the street and there's that creature that we're talking about next to you, and it could be a fire hydrant, that's the peculiar gift that this creature has, and that is the gift that is being exploited at the base, the secret base of 51. Does that make sense?
Yeah, especially, and this is a big spoiler, so I'm not going to do it, but especially sometimes they're the person or thing that you would least expect it to be.
So you want to talk about that, or
no.
Yeah, it's God, where do you start on this thing?
Koop.
I wanted the Koop, maybe. Yeah, Koop is the main character, I guess, him and Nuke. It's the story of two friends who encounter each other after not having seen each other for 30 years. And one of them is perhaps the most powerful person on the planet, right? He has a gift. Yeah. He's the head of, or was the head of a super secret project in the base. And he gradually tells his story. He gradually tells a story to his friend because he's like drove himself crazy drinking, because that's the only way he could stand working there. So that's sort of how this book starts, and he gives pieces and pieces and pieces of what's really going on in 51. I should say that I've studied Area 51 for 30 years. I think it's fascinating. I think the most fascinating thing about it is that is a secret that everybody knows. Everybody's talked about it. Everybody has a theory. Everybody, it's like the biggest secret in America is the most least kept secret in the world. I thought that was funny. And I said, what if I took all my knowledge of all the 51 events, incidents, weird stories, and put them together and wrote a story that could explain them all? That's sort of where I went. Does that make sense? You know?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, especially when you describe in two different sections, one from afar and one from very close, the first atomic explosion. Especially the second time you describe it, it's really cool, because then the parents, and then so so there's a lot of alcohol in the book.
A lot of alcohol, yeah. It's a story about two alcoholics. So I'm an alcoholic, and I use my experience over the years to share whatever insight I may have to the struggle people have with that particular disease. And they share the struggle of sobriety as they make their journey, you know. I think they have some interesting things to say, what it's like to be to live in a world of denial in your life, you know, and say, oh, I don't have a problem. There's nothing wrong with me. You know, I can just take another drink. That guy had drank way more than me. In fact, I haven't had a drink in 3 months. And if anybody deserves a drink, but you know what I mean? That's sort of a craziness, talking yourself into really dumb things that happens when you are injured or diseased with this particular thing.
Yeah. It's like when they ask a guy, why can't you quit cigarettes? And he goes, I've quit cigarettes several times. You know,
I quit them many times. Cigarettes for me were harder to quit than booze, to tell you the truth. I was a serious drug. I smoked 3 packs a day for 20 years. So I know about withdrawal.
Well, if Keith Richards can take it, then you're in good shape. So
Richards, my God, he's so scary.
I love Keith Richards.
Oh, he's a fabulous. You know, I just rediscovered. Sorry to go off on this tangent, but a lot of the book is about music and how music influences us and touches us, and how somehow we are inspired by these strange forces or strange characters that we don't know exist. That's, I thought, was fascinating. You know, it's like Keith Richards put on a recorder, a cassette, and strummed his guitar and then fell asleep in bed. And next morning he played the tape, and there was the riff to Satisfaction. And he goes, damn, that's a pretty good riff. I don't remember playing that.
Yeah, there is a lot of music in it. And the funniest part, and you go, do I understand this or not, is when they're, again, no spoilers, but when they're in a certain underground thing, there's this Motown, and then it says, don't mention the Four Tops. And it's like, yeah, wait a minute. Why would I, you know?
There's a whole
Go ahead.
There's a whole list of it's also set in Detroit, most of the book, or a good quarter of the book. So if you like Detroit music, if you like Motown, if you like references to Detroit, you might get a kick out of the 51. But yeah, it's about inspiration and how we get creative ideas, and who are our muses, you know, and it's hinted that somehow Motown has a secret power over the creatures in the book. The beauty of the Motown music somehow, what's the word? Hypnotizes? Anyway,
Yeah.
at odd points in the book, they start playing, you know, "Love is like an itching in my heart," or "I was made to love her," and these characters who we're not going to talk about or name more than what we've already named, go soft, go like compliant. It's bizarre thought, I know. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it makes sense in the book that there are this encounter with the strange person somehow provides inspiration for people like James Jamerson, the basis on every single hit Motown did, practically.
There's this, like, on the West Coast, there's the Wrecking Crew who did the backup for everybody, and in Detroit there was the Funk Brothers.
Exactly.
And I saw the Funk Brothers like 15 years ago. Yeah, and they were all really old, and some of them died. Yeah. And they even had place cards in the chairs where the dead guys would have been.
Yes, I saw that on video. Yeah. Oh, that's such an amazing musicians. How the heck did all these people from Detroit suddenly get together, and these jazz musicians came together with this whatever sound that was so bizarre? I think people sometimes forget how bizarre Motown sounded back in 1966. I know the sound of an old guy, but when we start hearing those bands playing, it blows my mind, the power of them. And the Wrecking Crew, not to go off, I've actually played with Hal Blaine. I've not played, really? But I wrote a song that Hal Blaine recorded in the Wrecking Crew. I was for many years in advertising, and I got an incredible front row seat as people wrote jingles or performed jingles or whatever. Jingles is just a silly word for some music that's short. There's 30 seconds of a jingle. If you're moved by it, you're moved by the same thing in 30 seconds of any other music. But Hal Blaine was amazing. He looked at the score that somebody had written out. It's in a big LA recording studio, all these amazing musicians, and Hal Blaine sits at his drums, and I'm sitting there, this 25-year-old man. Yes, I wrote this song, Mr. Blaine, would you play this? And so he looks at the score and he goes, "You ready, guys?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, 1, 2, 3, and then boom, and they record it perfectly in the first take. I mean,
that's what they did like 4 times a day. It's like that documentary, which has Brian Wilson standing next to Hal Blaine, just telling him, 6 weeks of good vibrations.
Oh my God. He is an amazing artist, and he led the band. And I felt like I was back in a session with Good Vibrations or something.
Yeah, Denny Wilson wanted him to play on the Beach Boys albums because Denny couldn't play the drums. Well, he couldn't. This is not selling your book.
No, it's not. But there's fun stories about Motown in 51 and how it interweaves with this odd experience and these odd creatures that are come.
We were talking before the interview about Nick Drake and how early you discovered him in 72. I don't think I did till like the 80s. But then you also include in the book people like Gareth Dixon, and you couldn't have discovered Gareth Dixon because he wasn't even born when we were younger. So how did you figure him out? And the other one, the Arabic band, I can't remember the name.
Oh my God. Yeah. Other unusual artists. Gareth Nixon is an extraordinary singer guitarist from Scotland, I think. Yeah, Scotland. Yeah. And I discovered him because he did a whole cover of all of Nick Drake's tunes, note perfectly, and which is like, why would anybody try that? There's a perfect performances, perfect songs that will never be improved. Every cover I've ever heard of Nick Drake is, yeah, that's pretty good, but it's, not Nick Drake. And then this guy, the Scottish guy, sings these gorgeous layered, sort of like Durutti column long, drony guitar pieces. I'm sorry, I'm getting very esoteric, but Gareth is a lovely composer. And who was the other one you mentioned?
It's like that, Two Trains. And then the thing is, like, Nick Drake reminds me of John Kennedy Toole in Confederacy of Dunces. Like there's these guys who are such geniuses, and then they off themselves because no one recognizes it until 10 years later.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens. That happens. I love making the references to music to him like that. Those are specific songs that have blown my mind. So I'm hopefully sharing a few treats for readers along the way.
Oh yeah, and they'll discover them. They go straight to YouTube, which is amazing now.
God's sakes, Tina Arwen. I've seen them twice in concert. They're a Mali North African band that are doing something different than everybody I've ever heard. They are fantastic. They're a most hypnotic groove, sort of meditative rock, and it's indescribable. It's beautiful, and it's haunting to me. So
yeah, I went down the rabbit hole.
Somebody want to queue up a tin Yarwin and read a chapter, you will like that.
Yeah, I did it.
Did you?
Yeah, I did it. Yes, I went down the rabbit hole on half of the stuff. Oh, which reminds me, because you talked about Townes Van Zandt and blues and Zippity Doodah, and then I'm thinking, oh, Doodah and Puma. I'm thinking, where did you come up with that? Where the hell did Doodah and Puma come up with? Where did I don't understand you.
You're sounding a bit uncoherent. Are you having a stroke now, son? I just want to make sure everything's you're cool. What? Mom, I have a man yelling, "Where did you come up with Puma at me?" No, it's very valid questions. Doodah, it came out of nowhere. You see, I'm really tempted not to tell people how I create books. Do you have any idea why? They won't believe me if I told them. It makes no sense. Yes, I could tell you that Pumam was a name I used in the book, and it's the name of one of my son's imaginary friends when he was growing up. How's Pumam doing? He's fine. I talked to him today. Yeah, really. He had a relationship with this guy for years, and it was lovely. And so I included that name as a tribute to my younger son, Colin, who's a magnificent singer and actor, as well as a great carpenter.
Oh, cool. Yeah. There were some things in the book that really, well, like I said, were peers, contemporaries. But I remember when you're talking about the mask moving, so there's no context. But when this guy's like tripping, essentially, basically, and he's seeing this mask moving and coming into life things. It reminds me when I was tripping in New York, and we ordered some Thai food, and it was all noodles. And then the noodles started moving and turning into snakes, and I had to get up and leave. Same kind of thing, exactly.
Really? Yeah, there is a trippy experience to the whole novel. It's so hopefully I want to write a story that is so relentless that it just grabs you and does not let you go. And 51 takes people in very weird places. Wouldn't you agree? It's like
Well, that's why door number 3 got so many awards, because it was like coming out of left field. Yeah. And then the New York Times says, what do they say about you at the top of the book? What is, you have that blurb there?
Yeah, they said fresh, that O'Leary's voice is fresh and funny. That was a lovely review they gave of door number 3 years ago. And yeah, that's sort of what it is. That's sort of what happens. And if I wish I could go ahead.
I was going to say, who the hell thinks, you're going to make a hard-boiled egg a pivotal point in the book, You're weird. You're really weird.
Oh God, you have no idea. I tell everybody this. I do a wonderful imitation of a normal human being. Just a guy sitting in the winter of Michigan winters and buying his hot dogs, and people have no clue as how bizarre I really am on the inside.
You could be like
I don't mean to scare anybody, but folks, yeah.
I mean, you could be like Koop.
You don't know now, you will know soon.
You could be like Koop, and maybe I'm talking to somebody I don't think I'm talking to.
I'm probably not at liberty to confirm or deny that.
Which reminds me of the presidents. That was so cool. I mean, and you pegged them all, especially the last one. Mm-hmm. That was really good, because it did give a certain, not stability, but it kind of was like some kind of hook that kind of hooked you back to a reality that actually exists. And characteristics like with Carter that people actually had. That was something interesting that you did. What prompted you to do that? And also, how did you research, if you researched, or it was just off the top of your head like I would do, what these guys were really like?
I spent 8 years living under George Bush, so I had a good idea what he was like. Stuff like that. But I did lots of research. There's a whole chapter about Obama's watch that I did a little bit of research on. And there's presidents, because of this crisis that 51 deals with, because there's these strange creatures. They have to brief the president once a year. They've agreed to tell him, like, this is like national security and stuff. And so the book includes chapters where I think the word is befuddled presidents walk into this room and have encounters with several people in the secret base. and some weird stuff happens every time that happens. And I'm not going to spoil it, but my favorite line by a president, if I may be so honest, is Barack Obama doesn't say anything for 10 minutes. We hear the whole experience, other people talking and what's going on. And at the end, he stands up, he says, we done here? That's all he says. And I thought, okay, that was good. I didn't have to do anything, you know. I got the dignity of that guy. I got the, you know, okay, this is crazy. I'm not going to get, he just get me out of here. So I had fun with that, obviously, but yeah.
The other thing was, again, odd, which I've never seen. And it's important to remind the reader of this. If you go to and if you finish the book, then there's this afterword and a glossary, which is the weirdest glossary I've ever seen in my life. That really gives some context. No, normally acknowledgments, you know, they don't really give a lot of context to the book, but this does. And you came up with that. I think that was really good.
Well, thank you. I thought it was kind of fun to have a glossary to a book that wasn't published. You know, I mean, there was this book that Koop finds or Nuke finds, and then there's the book that Nuke writes, right? And I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to put a glossary that gave you clues or interesting little bon mots, is that the word?
Yeah.
At the end of the book that shows you other things are going on. So thank you. I had a lot of time, a lot of fun writing the glossary to these books.
And it's always good when you read something that at the end you go, wait a minute, was that the book, or was that the book? Is that the book?
I hope that worked. I thought it worked for me, and I haven't heard many people. I haven't heard their personal reaction, but yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to say, to write something that you can. This sounds weird, as you probably know, but I wanted to write a book that could be 5 or 6 different books at the same time, and by that I mean it's a book that includes many stories. And I think it's interesting to examine after 51, after you've read it, is whose story is it? Does that make sense?
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm writing it down.
There's at least 3 books there, right?
Yeah.
If you say, whose story is it?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's like a mystery, it's a love story, it's a science fiction story, it's a fantasy story, it's a drama, you know, yeah. And you don't mean it that way, but yes, there are.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, I'm like, you know, what genre is this? Especially, since I own a bookstore, I always ask people, you know, people say you can't judge a book by its cover, but every single person who comes into my bookstore judges every book by its cover. So this cover, you got it. Show the cover.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah, let me take this out here and put it on. Oh, shit. Well, that didn't work.
That was great.
Go ahead.
So yeah, you know, it's like, okay, what is this? It could be the Day of the Jackal. It could be Area 51.
Is it a thriller? Is it
exactly
an espionage thing with blacked out lines? Is it a confession of a man who used to work with Area 51? Is it a leak of a document that our government would rather you didn't see? You know, all those sort of things I'm playing with, you know?
Yeah, and when someone looks at it, it's so funny because, you know, you use numbers twice. You door number 3 and 51. Yeah. And yeah, so like, if you look at it and you're a science fiction fan, you're going to, 51, this is going to be cool. And you think of the gray alien on the table and dissecting him and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you go into it and it's not that, but it is that. And again, no, I can't do this one. All right, never mind.
No, take your time. It's hard to talk about all my books without giving spoilers, Sam. It's nearly impossible. But so I'm cool if you want to risk a spoiler.
Well, it's like the idea that something is a cover-up. Yeah. Something is a cover-up of something that we already think is a cover-up.
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of way too meta, but that's true. It's totally meta book where it's self-conscious of itself, right? Yeah. But hopefully what I've done is written a story that'll take you along, and you know, 1 minute you're gonna be laughing, the next minute you're gonna be shocked, and the next minute you're gonna, what the hell is going on? Because that's how I discovered the book. Truly, that's how I do it. I write a chapter and I say, well, that's weird. And then I fix it, and then I write another one. How the hell did that happen? Honestly, I swear, I'm not kidding. When creatures come out of a closet that look like Casper the Friendly Ghost or something like that in a little boy's bedroom, it just happened. I looked in my brain. I said, what is this boy reaching from his bed to the closet with these weird white figures in there? That's an image that just came to me. Or a gigantic white snake, right? happened in a dream. I had one. And I said, what the hell is that gigantic white snake? It was so terrifying. And so I just, okay, there's a white snake.
Well, yeah, and they're not Jungian archetypes, but they're archetypes. The snake, definitely, and the door, the closet door, is something everybody knows what that is.
Yeah,
you know, we've all had closet doors.
And by the way, go ahead. I was going to say
we can interrupt each other, but you go ahead.
No, I was going to say that these creatures are fairly universal, meaning there's every culture has something like a creature that I talk about.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
And the archetypal, yes. Why? What does these creatures embody? Are they perhaps are they? It's the old saw of were leprechauns just another alien, or were leprechauns just another creature? To me, there's lots of speculation on what this creature is, and I have an idea, but I'm going to let other people figure out what it is.
That's what I was just going to ask. Is that what's really good is like, it's like the serpent, like the snake. It's like, okay, the reader has to decide, is this snake evil? Is this snake good? Is it an admixture of both? And I always like books at my bookstore that the reader has to work at the end. You know, he's done the book, but then he's got stuff he's got to do. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so those are the books I like to sell.
Right. I try not to fill in all the blanks for the reader, but I think a reader's going to have a good time figuring out, wait a second, like you did, that this matches that, and there's something about this, and what's Pumam, and what's Doodah, what is zippity Doodah I got to do with Doodah? And I think there's a lot of fun to be had by readers and nerds like me who explore a thriller and say, wait a sec, there's more that went on than that appears to be.
Yeah, I know. It's like the time saying fresh and funny, or using words like fun, like a book is fun. It's kind of weird. But yeah, it is fun to read.
Isn't it weird? It's like, why should fun be weird? Fun is great. Fun is fabulous. And the other prejudice that you sometimes fun is trivial. It's just play stuff. It's not a serious book. I don't think it's a contradiction to be funny and serious at the same time. I hope my books are enjoyable and yet serious experiences for people.
Oh yeah, I was thinking the other day. I was thinking about power. I was thinking, I don't really have any power, and I don't want any power. It's a pain in the ass, and I don't really. I mean, I don't take it for granted the fact that I'm comfortable in life and I don't have to scrounge for food or clothing or shelter. But the money isn't that important either. So I'm thinking, what's really important is having fun and being good to people, and that's pretty much it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that. Yeah, and I think that's what the book. Well. Okay, so Koop. Sometimes you think of him, oh yeah, because at the beginning, Nuke is, okay, he's at the side of the road, he goes, you were the best man at my wedding. And then they get together and he's not sure he wants to get together, but then they get along great. Koop tells a story, and then Nuke says to the reader, hey, you don't even want to.
So tell him what he says. What does he say to the reader?
You don't want to hear the story because it's so incredibly bad and scary and horrible that you don't want to read anymore. So I was thinking, okay, I'll just put it down.
Was he right?
That's another excellent question. Was he right? No. I mean, no, because there's a lot of redemption in this book.
Well, talk more about that. Help me out with that. Listen, you're the third person in the world I've spoken about this book to. So believe me, you can go on and on about me as much as you want.
Well, yeah, it's like Koop is a savior. He made Nuke what he is, even gave him his name. Yeah. And at the same time, he's putting him in, it's like the monkey's paw where, or that one where you have to give away the money. And each time you give away the money, it's worth less and less. And well, anyway, it's like the $100,000 Mark Twain's thing. So it's like you got this doorkeeper, which is Kafka-esque. Yeah. Oh man, I don't know.
It's hard to get your mind around all the things that the story is, but the story of 51 is a story about many things, but it's also a story about friendship and loyalty and what it means to be a friend. And and we find friendship in the oddest places in 51, where we wouldn't expect it. Little gestures of kindness or little grace notes of people being decent to one another in the midst of all this scariness and apocalyptic change. So yeah, I think there's an undercurrent of that in 51 of what it means to be a friend and what it means to love a friend. It's a meditation on somebody.
And you talk about power. Koop has enormous power. Maybe the more, yeah. And
this is a man who can hypnotize just about anybody. He has learned a skill that no one else has, and he is in charge of a budget that is essentially without limit. So whatever he wants to do, he can do. But his task and his job is to erase stories, seal leaks. He's a highly placed government official whose job is to track down who told the truth about 51 and to clear the planet of it. So it's a very scary, brutal job that he does, and it's interesting to watch him do it and to watch what happens when he confronts someone who seems to be who just takes him as it is, who seems to accept him as he is. His old friend Nuke is one guy who knows him and knows what his flaws are and likes him. And it's interesting to me that when one is broken, the other comes in and helps him up. And there's a lot of ambiguity in that too, the relationship between this regular photographer guy called Adam or Nuke and this brilliant African-American spy with special powers called Koop. And to me, that's a fascinating friendship and how they evolve together and how they change.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's so many ways you can come at this, and I got to write it down because I'll forget. I'm thinking of two. So like, yeah, so like there's, when I'm interviewing people, there's so many books about trans people. There's so many books about people from India that go back home to discover a family secret. There's so many books about LGBT kind of stuff. But the thing about Koop is it doesn't make any difference whether he's black or white. You don't even know in and out whether he's black or white, which is the way you should write. If we're going to become one people, that we don't really care what you are, like the way my kids grew up at school, their friends were their friends. It didn't make any difference who they were. And that's how Koop is. You don't even know, and you don't even care, which is really good. And it's hard to do too.
I think it's possible that I think we see him through Nuke's eye in the book a little bit. So there's always a little bit of idealization, if that makes sense, of the character. Remember, this book is a book of stories, and Koop, this great super spy, is telling stories to this regular guy, Nuke. And you always have to wonder, how much of it is true? And how much is Nuke, who this is the best, this is the smartest man in the world, who idealizes him? How much is it him sort of putting a rosy glow on everything? So that's an interesting way of looking at it too, if you ask me. Koop is an amazing, talented guy, very fascinating, and the struggles that he deals with, I think, are interesting. And I didn't have any. He was just black. He was a black man. That's all. It's like, should he be black? No, he was. My books happen to me. That's how I know they are. That's how I know they're real. When I read a chapter and I say, "Oh, well, I didn't know that."
Yeah, I didn't know it either. Yeah. And then every once in a while there's an identifier, but that's all it is. There's no characteristics that make him different than anybody else, which is the way it should be. Also, if I'm genre bending, which is a term I don't like, but it's a love story, and it's almost like a love triangle, but it's not a love triangle at all. So there's talk about Katie. Yeah, talk about her, because she's cool.
I think she's cool too. Thank you. I'm delighted. There's a third character in 51, very powerful, very brilliant scientist, doctor called Katie. God, I can't remember her last name for some reason, because most of the book they call her Katie. The book says, it's a time when all women had first names and men had only last names, and so she's called Katie. And she's fascinating in that she falls in love with Koop at the base and makes it her sort of life commitment to figure out the secret of the base, to analyze it and to figure out what's going on. And Koop does the same thing. And they are so charged. They're like two, I don't know, geniuses falling in love with each other. And that happens, explodes right in the first chapters of the book. And there's that sense of Katie being this amazing person that both Nuke and Koop knew and somehow never made it together, couldn't make work. and but they're definitely, those three leaders' lives are linked. Definitely lives are linked, and I think she's fascinating. I think, how you go to casting in your books in your brain. Oh, got to have casting. Well, there's got to be, for Katie. I thought of a woman who is striking as Tilda Swinton, can walk into any scene she's in and just stop everybody. When Tilda Swinton walks on stage, everybody's eyes goes to her. It doesn't matter what she's playing. That's the sort of presence that I thought Katie had. She was absolutely unique, utterly smarter than anyone she's ever met, and brilliant, and just delightful to be around. Anyway, it's a fascinating character, I think.
Yeah, like Helena Bonham Carter, same thing.
Oh yeah, I love her too.
Yeah, and the other thing is, you talk about the love story. It's nice the way they're just talking about science, and she's showing him things, and he goes, "Would you like to go to bed with me?" She goes, "Okay."
Thank you. I like that too. But I don't know what to say about Katie. I think she's a really fascinating character, and I think the best I can say about her is Tilda Swinton deserves to play her, and then you'll get an idea how cool she is.
Well, as you go along in this book, and as it gains traction, I mean, it is very cinematic. So, especially nowadays, where Netflix would take it and make a series out of it as opposed to a movie, I mean, yeah, they could do a good job with
The
it.
series would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be. And
the cool thing about, go ahead.
Well, the technology aspect of it, they would have a field day with, especially, oh God, yeah, especially when you're going into a place where you have to follow the line.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There's a whole, I think of 51 as like a pinata of stories. The reader takes a crack at it and goes, bam, and the stories splatter everywhere. And then the reader has to get down on the floor and pick up the pieces and put it back together. And UFOs, aliens, a secret base, invisibility, that was fun to me. It was able, all those could be explored in a like you say, a series or whatever. But I think it's like a big idea that anybody can go with. You can talk about the military, you can talk about the employees at 51, you can talk about the politicians who passed the legislation to fund it. You can talk about the test pilots, all those stuff. You could talk about the captured people in there. Anyway, it's a big book. It's got a lot of stories in it.
Well, it's got a lot of characters that that have texture, even if they're in there for only a page or two. The other thing that would be really good too in a movie or a series would be, you have a series of interviews basically that Koop has, and then just like a guy whose name I can't remember, No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
You flip the coin. He's not being unfair. He's just saying, you flip the coin, you're either going to live or die. And Koop, in some situations, does the same thing in his interviews. It's like, you tell me everything, I might let you go, or I might not. I might just.
Yeah. I thought that was fascinating, that the structure of interviews of people, essentially what this character Koop is doing, he's going around the world and he's talking to people who have had contact with 51. And when you've had contact with 51, that means you've had contact with the secret of 51 or the creatures that are there, right? So every chapter is essentially an interrogation. It's Koop telling his friend how he lived his life and how he went all over the world and found people who knew the secret and friggin' erased it, either one way or another. Either mortally erased it or he used his specific gifts to do so. So in every chapter there's something at stake, meaning somebody may die at the end. I hope you felt that on some level.
Well, and then you think of the IFs and what happens to them, sacrifices, even when they flatten themselves against the air ducts to avoid the yellow gas coming in. It's like, would I do that? Would I step in front of a train to save a little girl who was in the subway, and would I jump and throw her away, throw her to the side? See, that's again, the readers, would I do that? Would I have the courage to do that? And they're not people. They're like little, it's just like a blob that's doing it.
Yeah, it's the fascinating characters. And what strikes me about the IFs or ifs is that they are, there's a wonderful naivety to them. They are like little children, but they're not. They've lived long lives, but they are utterly in love with humans. if that makes sense. They are utterly tied to them. They are infatuated with humans on some level when they first are born, and how that is misused and abused. They are perhaps the most loyal friends we've ever had, in a sense. And it's a meditation on that. What does it mean to forget? What does it mean to remember? What does it mean to have a friend? That sort of thing.
But notwithstanding that, they also have the ability to negotiate, and negotiate very well.
Yes, indeed.
You know?
Yeah, they are definitely actors in their own fate. And if 51 could be read as a story of rebellion, of a story of a mass uprising, but just not in of people.
Boy, we really are covering a lot of things in one book. Like even it's kind of a morality play in one sense, like that one scene where one entity is explaining to another, look, you came here, you destroyed the Native Americans, you've exploited the world, you've slavery and all that. Look what you've done. Look what you've done. And now you're continuing to do it, which is why in the introduction, I said, this is very similar to what's happening. Shit. It's almost akin to what exactly is happening today, whether you're talking about the Ukraine or Trump or gerrymandering or anything like that. It's all resonant, which is not good. It's bad.
Yeah. It's a world sort of caught in denial that these things aren't happening, but they are happening.
It is denial. Even the Supreme Court decision yesterday.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Hey, you talk about frisbees a lot.
Yeah, so we're going to get a trademark. Can I get a deal on the frisbees? We'll check on that.
Yeah, because I love frisbee. I've played ultimate and all that. I was just wondering whether you played frisbee.
I'm sorry, I'm not a frisbee golfer. I have done the frisbee. No hula hoops, though.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. We're old enough that we can remember all the stuff Whammo did, including silly putty and putting it against the comics, the rotogravures. You
did that?
Yeah, sure.
I did that. Of course I did. Yeah, it's a real. There's a path. It's a trip for a lot of baby boomers. This is going to be a trip of nostalgia, all the way back to the 50s. You'll see little reminders, little grace notes from your past. You think, oh, that's right. Anyway,
Yeah.
My favorite part is the I drop jingles throughout the book because I'm an ad man. I was in advertising for 30 years, so I had so much fun dropping little hints of jingles, and the jingles are something that these creatures, the IFs, enjoy. They think that's just great, And so throughout the whole, it's something we take for granted, the background noise of this jingle jangle world with it's always trying to sell us something. But for the ifs, they hear something like pop, pop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. Or you'll wonder where the yellow went when you brush your teeth with Pepsodent, and all these weird things to that. And it's I had a lot of time dropping those fun little jokes in there about advertising.
Yeah, you being a copy editor, a copywriter, it always reminds me of like my father loved Levoris mouthwash. Mm-hmm. And, it says with the secret ingredient, xantrate, but there is no xantrate.
Isn't there?
Huh?
There's no xantrate?
No, it's nothing. They made it up, but it sounds like it's a perfect word for you to use. Xantrate. Could be anything.
About rich Corinthian leather.
Yes. But it has to be said.
In Corinth, they make better leather than ever. The cows have a special meal or something. Is there something Italian? I don't know.
But it has to be said the right way too.
It does. It does. You need Ricardo Montalban doing that one, right?
Hey, did you really work for Steve Jobs?
I did. I was a Apple retail specialist. I sold Apple computers for 3 years after I was laid off in 2010. I did that for three and a half years. Lovely people, good products, love it.
Yes, that's when you were selling. 2010. What were you selling? The first iMac, maybe?
I don't remember what was the thing. The old. I was there when the black iMac Pro came out. You remember that little pod sort of thing, or little? Yeah, I was there, standing on my feet for 8 hours a day, fun, on stone.
Yeah, which reminds me of Uncle Bob because, and I'll read this. It says, "Never run when you can walk. Never walk when you can sit. Never sit when you can lie down, and never lie down when you can sleep." And I'm thinking, am I like that? That's it. Yeah, the reader is going to think, oh, wait a minute. That's the way
you realize, Sam, how weird this book is going to sound to people who hear this conversation?
Yeah.
People, I'm sorry, but it's such a weird book that it's what we're saying makes total sense to us, but it probably doesn't make a lot of sense to you guys. Sorry.
But it's got to intrigue them. I mean, yeah, just that alone.
I hope so.
I sent that to my nephew and he goes, thanks, I guess.
Well, that's cool. I will just tell your nephew that Elia Dawn Johnson liked the book. So I'm even. We're even now.
Hey, did you have an Uncle Bob?
I did have an Uncle Bob. Yeah, I sort of based
like
my character in the book on him.
Yeah, I like the way. Yeah, see, God, there's so many things. I like the way when he goes hunting, he doesn't shoot his rifle. He just sits there all day with it across his legs.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he shoots once. He shoots once before they leave.
Yeah, lets out a fart and shoots their rifle in the air. These I spent many a long winter and summer ice fishing, hunting, and fishing with my dad and his uncles, and it was some of the most torturous times of my life. No, they had a great time. Don't get me wrong, but a bunch of 4 men walking around through the woods drinking beer, or sitting on the side of the street, side of a river drinking beer. It was not fun for me.
Oh, and ice fishing is no fun unless you have a really nice tent and a good way to keep warm and the holes inside, not outside.
It's not that great to me, so I.
That also reminds me, and this may be a context that they won't know it. Is when I was like 16, I went and saw the Harlem Globetrotters and Meadowlark Lemon, and then I felt so bad for the New Jersey Generals. They just yeah. This is
I thought that was wonderful that they had the Harlem Globetrotters who were like, I don't know, the best basketball players on the planet. They got together to entertain people, and they did Sweet Georgia Brown, pass the ball around, wonderful tricks. But the Washington Generals was the designated loser. They would travel around the country, and they would lose to the Harlem Globetrotters, and everybody go, yeah! They were delightful entertainment. But I thought it was such a how do I put this? It's like the one time that Black people were allowed to win in America in the last 100 years was when the Harlem Globetrotters could beat the Washington Generals. They were the designated losers. And it was such a safe ritual that these charming, funny Black people could actually beat white people playing basketball. And everybody said, oh, isn't that fun? But it's just struck me as the most odd way to act out a power dynamic I've ever seen.
Yeah. They were owned and managed by this old Jewish white guy.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And Koop teases, the reason he brought up because Koop teases, Nick teases him about that. Oh, your uncle played on the designated losers like the Washington Generals, which actually did.
Yeah, they had to lower their competence level, which always is a horrible thing to do. It's like a Kurt Vonnegut thing where they put weights on the best ballerina.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I don't think they ever won. Koop says they won once in a while, but I don't remember.
I think they won. I think I saw once that they won. It was so surprising that I noticed it.
Yeah, I saw it at the gymnasium at my high school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my dad took me. That was a big deal. That was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Great.
So okay, we've gone over science fiction, not fantasy, science fiction, mystery, drama, love story,
conspiracy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's steeped in conspiracy.
Folks, I think we're talking a real bargain here. 5 books in one.
So where do I put it in the bookstore? Do I put it in science fiction? I'd probably default it into science fiction. Don't you think?
Dude, you're a much better choice than I. You run bookstores. I don't know how to market my book. You tell me.
Well, the covers sell books, like I said, and the publisher. Oh, did you vet the cover? Did you vet it, or did they give you options?
Oh yeah, they did a wonderful job. Elizabeth Story did this cover. She's a remarkable designer. Elizabeth Story. She does most of the covers, I think, or all of them now, of Tack-An books. And so I was so pleased. Somebody had the idea of using the numbers as a sort of window into the book that suggests creepy little snake line. What the hell is going on? Brilliant.
Oh, and the little subtitle. What's the subtitle again? Inside the 5.
Oh, this says Don't Trust Anyone.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you? I'm asking you as a seriously.
Well, that's the thing, you're combining 51, don't trust anyone, and this guy with a assault weapon. So yeah, I don't know what you're supposed to think. That's why I say I don't know where to put it, because it could be like the Day of the Jackal. It could be like Jack Reacher. It could be like, okay, this is going to be aliens, or it
Michael
could
Crichton?
be like, Michael Crichton. Yeah, so that's what you can find.
It's a marketing problem, but thankfully not a literary one.
Yeah, well, as long as I put it on the front table and in the window, which I will.
That's a great idea.
Well, I can't do it till today. That's the other thing. Remember another thing you remember when you were a kid and the mattress said, "Do not remove under penalty of law"?
Yeah.
And my brother and I always ripped it off.
You did?
We thought we were going to get arrested. Because I get these books, and it says, "Do not display until February 8th." And I go, fuck it, man. I'm putting it out. What are they going to do, arrest me?
Yeah, I don't know why they would not display it till February 8th, but whatever. It's not my job. But thanks. I'll put it in the window, dude. Send me you're in Philly, right?
Yeah.
You know Jim Morrow? Jim and Kathy Morrow?
Oh, what do they own? I forgot. I've met them before.
Well, Jim's a writer, science fiction writer, a fantasy writer, brilliant satirist.
There's a lot of authors. The one who's the most successful author right now is Madeline Miller, who's come out to our bookstore, who I know, and wrote Circe and Song of Apollo. Mm-hmm. They've been sitting out. I mean, I can't keep enough of those books in. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. And now Greek mythology has become a big, essentially, genre too.
Interesting.
Well, that's the other thing too. I was going to try and get your back stock to put it out there with it, but it's really hard to find.
Is it?
Sorry.
Yeah, maybe we could do something about that someday.
Well, do you have a bunch of stuff at your house?
No, I mean the books are still in print. There are ebook copies of all my books except my 2 collections, I think. So
yeah, I mean you can buy them on Kindle, but you can buy like door number 3, but it says option. How Amazon does options to buy, and it's all like used very good. It doesn't have it there. Well, but so that's why I said I was really happy because I got it yesterday. I don't have it here. Yeah, but yeah, so it's hopefully if you have a case or 2 laying around, just send them to me and I'll put them out there.
Thanks. I really don't. I just got my copies yesterday, and all 10 of them, and I've already somebody's asked me to give them a copy, and I'd be happy to, but it's like, no, the rest I got to save for relatives.
Yeah, I can certainly understand that.
Right.
Well, I think we've covered pretty much. I don't think we've covered everything, but we've covered a lot of it. Oh yeah, and that's the other thing is the music too, and the music is really important.
I think so. There's a big one playlist on Apple Music that people can go and find all the songs that are mentioned in 51 and play it. Some of my favorite ones. Songs like Gareth Dixon, songs like Leanne Russell's Out in the Woods. Every song mentioned in the book is on a playlist in Apple Music, which is kind of fun. I found that reading the book and then playing a song is kind of a fun way to listen to it, but that's just me.
Yeah, like when I was listening to 2 Trains, then I found a duet that he did with this really nice woman. I don't remember. Yeah.
She's the woman from Brazil, I think, or something like that. She's a wonderful singer songwriter.
Yeah, and they were so happy singing it together.
Beautiful song and a beautiful duet by them. Yeah. I recommend that. Gareth Dixon is the dude to check out. He's got this odd ambient guitar, soft-spoken melodic mood music that I love a lot.
Yeah, and talk about power. He doesn't give a shit about it. He's put out 3 albums. He just kind of goes here and there, sings in Scotland.
Yeah, he does his own thing.
Yeah, exactly. As do you.
I'm delighted you picked up on that, because I thought music was a deep part of the book that really gave me a lot of pleasure. And
and again, some of it's like sublime, and some of it's just goofy, like what we were talking about with Motown, and like Alka-Seltzer, if it was in it, would be pop, pop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is,
Sort of, maybe it's just a story that includes everything, and it's a mess like life is. There's no suspense story in life. There's suspense story, and then there's middle age crisis, and there's hot flashes, and then there's Milton Berle gags. Life is a mess. And 51 includes it all, I think.
Yeah, If you like navigators, if you like doormen, if you like men in blue suits and hard-boiled eggs, this is the book for you. It's a complete mess. Yeah, that's how.
Questionably, all hard-boiled eggs lovers, it's time for you to make a stand and buy 51 and tell the world what the real thing is.
Yeah, you can see him peel a hard-boiled egg, and then it's not peeled. Okay, that's the book I want.
You know, it took a lot of thought to get that scene. Peeled, unpeeled. There was not much more that I could do with a hard-boiled egg. Juggle maybe, but I gave it my best.
Yeah, that's kind of a nomen of the world itself. You peel a hard-boiled egg, and it's not peeled anymore.
I know. You shovel your walks, and the next day there's a snow. Come on.
Yeah, it's like when I opened the bookstore. I said I got to open a bookstore because I got to get all these books out of my house, and then here they are again. It's like hangers in your coat closet. You get rid of them.
I'm looking at your shelves, and I have such deep envy.
Oh, plus the library ladder, which I also.
Oh my God, I'm dying. I've got to go to Philly and just spend some time on the ladder. That's all I ask.
This is my house. You got to go to the bookstore.
Oh, okay, all right, but nice house, dude. Nice shelves.
Yeah, I just moved here 4 months ago, and the only reason I moved here was because it had a library. I looked at all these houses, and I go, shit, it's got a ladder, it's got a library. Here's where I'm going.
That's what else do you need? I mean, maybe you can add air conditioning later, but the library is the most important thing, right?
You always buy a house for one reason. Yeah. Okay. That's enough.
This has been delightful, Sam. I hope to meet you again when I get out into the wide world after all this is over. But it's been delightful talking to you, man.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, just come by. Underneath my bookstore is a nice bar. We can have a couple. Oh no, shit. Sorry.
Oh, great. I was good until Sam offered to.
No, but that's.
It was
no,
just
that's okay.
Moment.
No, but that's okay because Nuke and Koop, they go to the bar and they're fine. They're fine sitting at the bar.
Fine. Yeah, that's what I tell people. Oh, there's a line in a book that said, people said, don't you uncomfortable in bars? I says, not at all. I've been in thousands of bars. And they said, but don't you want to drink? I said, oh yeah, I want to drink. But the trouble is there's not enough alcohol in this whole bar. I have to have all the drinks, not just one of them. So that's why it doesn't bother me.
That's an excellent way to end. Good. Okay. Talk again soon.
Pleasure, my friend.
Likewise.
Nice to meet you. All right. Take care, all.
You too.